The world is watching as a political earthquake rocks North America. Canada has just announced a significant new toll on the historic Alaska Highway, instantly sparking an international crisis. This move challenges decades of U.S.-Canada cooperation and puts their alliance under a microscope. The U.S. response was immediate and furious, with former President Donald Trump leading the charge. His fiery words have ignited debate across America, dominating headlines and social media. The Alaska Highway is the only land route connecting Alaska to the rest of the U.S., a vital lifeline for people, goods, and military supplies. The new toll threatens to raise costs, disrupt supply chains, and harm businesses on both sides of the border. For tourists, it's a blow to an iconic road trip. For Alaskans, it's a threat to daily life. The stakes are high, and the story is developing rapidly. This is more than a fee, it's a symbol of shifting power and priorities between two close allies. The world now watches as leaders in Washington and Ottawa weigh their next moves. Are the bonds of history and shared values strong enough to withstand this pressure? Or is this the start of a new, more confrontational era in North American relations? The future of this vital artery and the partnership it represents hangs in the balance. The dispute is about more than money. It's about national pride and the future of a historic alliance. As tensions rise, both nations face tough questions about trust, fairness, and sovereignty. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of unity, is now at the center of a diplomatic storm. The path forward is uncertain. The world holds its breath. To grasp today's crisis, we must revisit the Alaska Highway's origins. Built during World War II, the highway was a joint U.S.-Canada effort to defend Alaska after Pearl Harbor. Thousands of engineers and workers braved harsh conditions to carve a 500-mile route through wilderness in just 9 months. The project became a symbol of wartime cooperation and trust. After the war, Canada took control of its section, opening it to the public and modernizing it over decades. The highway remains the only land link to Alaska, requiring ongoing collaboration. Canada has long shouldered most maintenance costs, even as American commercial and military traffic has grown. Periodic disputes over funding and upkeep have simmered for years. Ottawa's new toll signals that the old arrangement is no longer sustainable. The move reflects deeper tensions over cost sharing and sovereignty. The Alaska Highway's history is one of partnership, but also of unresolved challenges. Today's toll is the latest flashpoint in a relationship built on both necessity and trust. The past shapes the present, and the stakes have never been higher. The road that once united two nations now divides them. On September 15th, Canada unveiled the Northern Infrastructure and Sovereignty Fee. Starting November 1st, all non-Canadian vehicles using the Alaska Highway will pay $750 for commercial trucks, $250 for private vehicles. Ottawa says the toll will fund urgent upgrades and assert Canadian sovereignty in the Arctic. The government projects $300 million in annual revenue, all pledged for highway improvements. Minister Sophie Dubois calls it a matter of fairness. Canadian taxpayers have carried the burden for decades. The policy is framed as practical, not punitive, but the timing is telling. Facing economic pressures, Canada seeks new revenue without raising domestic taxes. The Alaska Highway, heavily used by Americans, became the target. A year-long study concluded maintenance needs outpaced the budget. The toll is a dramatic shift, and the world is watching the fallout. The stage is set for a major confrontation. The U.S. response was swift, led by former President Donald Trump. On social media, he called the toll disgraceful, accusing Canada of extortion and vowing America would not pay. Trump's message went viral, fueling outrage and rallying his supporters. In interviews, he demanded immediate action, threatening tariffs and retaliatory tolls. He framed the issue as another example of America being taken advantage of by its allies. The Alaska Highway toll became a populist cause, a symbol of national pride and grievance. Trump's rhetoric put intense pressure on the Biden administration to respond forcefully. The dispute is no longer just about policy, it's a political flashpoint. Trump's strategy is classic. Simplify the issue, stoke emotion, and demand a strong response. He positions himself as the defender of American interests, criticizing the current administration's approach. The language of trade wars has returned, raising the stakes for both countries. The Biden administration now faces a dilemma: appear tough or risk political backlash. The toll dispute has become a test of leadership and diplomacy. The U.S.-Canada relationship is under strain as political forces on both sides dig in. The crisis is no longer just about a road, it's about power, pride, and the future of North American cooperation. The world is watching for the next move. In Washington, the Biden administration's response is measured but firm. Press Secretary Olivia Dalton called the toll deeply concerning, emphasizing the highway's importance to Alaska and the U.S.-Canada partnership. Diplomatic channels are active, with Secretary of State Blinken warning Canada of serious consequences if the toll proceeds. The U.S. ambassador to Canada has been recalled, a clear sign of displeasure. Ottawa, meanwhile, stands its ground. Prime Minister Trudeau defends the toll as a sovereign right and a fair way to fund infrastructure. Canada releases data showing the highway's heavy use by U.S. trucks and the costs involved. A public relations campaign highlights the benefits for northern communities. Both governments are preparing for a prolonged standoff, each appealing to national interests and public opinion. The stage is set for a high-stakes diplomatic battle. The economic impact will be immediate and far-reaching. 70% of Alaska's goods arrive via the highway. Higher tolls mean higher prices for families and businesses. Trucking companies warn of devastating costs, possible bankruptcies, and supply chain disruptions. Small businesses in Alaska and along the route in Canada face lost revenue as travel declines. The tourism sector is hit hard. $250 per RV could deter many American visitors. The dispute threatens to spill into broader U.S.-Canada trade, risking tariffs and supply chain chaos. Business leaders on both sides are nervous about escalation. What began as a toll could trigger a trade war, harming economies continent-wide. The fallout from this single policy could be massive. The Alaska Highway, once a link, now threatens to become a barrier. The stakes are higher than ever. The toll is fracturing the North American identity. The world's longest undefended border now feels less friendly. In Alaska, the toll is seen as a betrayal, fueling resentment and a sense of isolation. Political leaders in Alaska demand federal action, uniting the state in opposition. In Canada, critics warn the government is risking vital U.S. relations for limited revenue. Western provinces are caught between new funding and potential backlash. The dispute exposes deeper frustrations. Canadians feel taken for granted, Americans feel exploited. The Alaska Highway is now a battleground for national pride and unresolved grievances. A road that once united now divides. Experts warn this crisis reflects a global shift toward economic nationalism. Dr. Melissa Bain notes that alliances are fraying as nations prioritize self-interest. Trump's rhetoric has made quiet diplomacy harder, forcing the Biden administration into a corner. The likely solution? A negotiated settlement, perhaps U.S. funding for highway upgrades in exchange for dropping the toll. Dr. David Chen argues Canada underestimated the toll's symbolic weight for Americans. The risk now is a cycle of retaliation tariffs, counter-tariffs, and a deepening rift. Both sides need an off-ramp, a way to de-escalate without losing face. Mediation or back-channel talks may be the only way forward. The next few weeks are critical. Will this be a temporary spat or a lasting rupture? The answer depends on the choices leaders make now. The world is watching for signs of compromise or escalation. The future of the U.S.-Canada alliance hangs in the balance. North America stands at a crossroads. The Alaska Highway toll has exposed deep rifts and forced a reckoning in U.S.-Canada relations. Immediate economic pain is clear, but the long-term consequences could be even greater. Watch for diplomatic negotiations, political pressure in Washington, and signs of supply chain disruption. Listen to the voices of those most affected: truckers, business owners, and northern residents. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of unity, now marks a moment of division. The path forward is unwritten: reconciliation or deeper conflict. The choices made now will shape the continent's future. The journey has just begun.